And out. Quick little vlog here on the UFC, namely UFC 200, following Ariel Helwani's announcement last night on the MMA Hour that Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz are set for a rematch in July at UFC 200 after Diaz beat McGregor first time around by chokehold submission. So, this is quite incredible news, really, that they're going to go and do it again at welterweight at 170 pounds, two weight divisions above the weight that McGregor has been competing at in the UFC prior to this. So it's amazing, really. The first noise of this came out about a week ago, 10 days, when it surfaced that McGregor had actually turned down the opportunity or the offer for a rematch, which actually sounded like good business sense to me. He had said immediately after that he wanted to go back down to 145, so to turn down a rematch wouldn't be a sign of cowardice or anything like that. It would have made good business sense to get back down, get those wins under his belt, go up to lightweight, and then perhaps look at gradually moving the way up to welterweight. So they're actually doing this rematch at 170, despite the fact that apparently McGregor had the opportunity to do it at catch weight, so perhaps 160 pounds or even 155, where Diaz actually generally fights at lightweight. So it would appear that McGregor has gone out on a alpha male bravado limb and insisted stubbornly that they do it again on Diaz's terms, you know, as if to imply that the first fight was a fluke, or that he can right the wrongs of the first fight. So here's my take on it. I've heard of a couple of podcasts today, actually, a very prominent one here in Ireland, insisting that McGregor has a massive chance at 170. I believe Diaz beats him 10 times out of 10, 50 out of 50, and 100 out of 100 at welterweight. McGregor is not big enough for welterweight. He's 5'9", walks around at about 78 kilos. So he weighed in on his walk around weight. He looked like an overblown leprechaun. He had lost the agility. I've gone back and watched, for example, the Poirier fight where he was majestic. He had the top knot up. He was slim. He was sleek. He looked like just this rabid, atavistic, bare-knuckle boxer. He looked so sleek, so cool, so at his perfect shape. And he went up to 170. He looked like this bodybuilder waddling into the octagon. His kicks were wild and inaccurate. He barely landed any of them. And he basically went toe-to-toe like a bare-knuckle boxing match, where at featherweight he's this graceful cheetah with spinning kicks and these unpredictable movements. At welterweight, he basically stood toe-to-toe, face-to-face, mano-a-mano with Diaz in like this fucking blood-sported head-hunting boxing match. And he lost it comprehensively because although he was winning that first round, he hadn't hurt Diaz in any serious way. It doesn't matter if you cause tissue damage on the face. Well, it matters to some degree, but you need to actually knock chin damage, and you need to inflict chin damage and rock an opponent on his feet. He never did that to Diaz. Diaz came out in the second round, and with the first significant and consequential punch, he ended the fight. He rocked McGregor back. That wasn't to do with stamina. That was to do with McGregor essentially not being able to take the force of that punch early in the second round. From that point on, McGregor then received 4 Stockton slaps. Such was Diaz's ease and enjoyment from there on in the fight, and cocksure assurance that he was going to go on and win it. Then McGregor took it to the ground, which was an implicit submission, and docilely rolled over onto his back and conceded. This isn't kind of to make fun of McGregor, not at all, but I'm just trying to repaint the image of how the first fight went down and express my absolute surprise that he would be willing to go up that again. So how can he correct that first fight? Is he going to go up in natural weight and try to cut down a bit to to that 170. So is he going to try it in these, what's it going to be, 4 months? Beef up to maybe an 85, 86 kilos and then cut down weight? That sounds like a mammoth task and probably impossible if we're speaking the truth. I would say the most likely thing is he's going to go stick to that natural weight and try to go back in and beat a guy at his walk around weight. I heard Joe Rogan say walking into that fight, oh, we should see this. We shouldn't have guys dehydrating. We should see guys fighting at their natural weight. But I think Rogan was saying that to sound smart. He has more martial arts knowledge than I do, but you do need to cut a little bit of weight. You need for cardio for this at the lighter weights. So I would say below middleweight, up above in the heavyweight divisions, being loose on your feet and agile isn't as important. We saw that guy Kimbo Slice, those obese giants. They can pack on weight. But down at the lower weight divisions, you do need to cut from your natural weight, I believe. Not to the extent that McGregor does at featherweight. He should be at lightweight. You should cut about 10 pounds from what you walk around at to come in for a 5-round slog, to have the stamina to reach that point. Sure enough, he didn't have enough time to prepare for actually welterweight because there was only 10 days. So this time he will have 4 months to prepare for it. But so will Diaz. Diaz didn't have a training camp. He was smoking weed and God knows what on a yacht in Mexico about 2 weeks before the announcement. He came to the fight with a dad bod, looking out of shape, and still made light work of McGregor, in my opinion. He was slow into the fight. I think McGregor actually fought a great fight in the first round. He did his very best, landed great shots. And his story of his shot selection or his energy use doesn't add up to me. It doesn't make sense. I believe he simply lost the fight because he's not big enough. He has the reach disadvantage. He has a height disadvantage. He has a weight disadvantage. And that's why combat sports have weight divisions. So I just think he's taking a massive, massive gamble. If he were to go and lose this, that'd be 2 defeats, albeit he'll always be able to fall back and come out with the excuse again that it's not his weight division. But that will have taken up the bulk of 2016 for him. If he were to lose, he wouldn't fight again until December probably. He's in his peak years. I feel like he's wasting his time with his welterweight business. Even if he were to edge a narrow win, he is still going to a division which isn't conducive to his body type. Going back down, he's not going to compete for titles at welterweight. I'm 100% convinced of that. Even if he were to edge somehow a win in this rematch, it's against Nate Diaz, who's broadly speaking a journeyman. He would never compete with the likes of McDonald or Robbie Lawler at welterweight. So, sure, if he wants to get one over on Diaz and try to win a rematch, he could do it. I exaggerated by saying 10 out of 10, 50 out of 50. He could knock him out, of course. But I really, really don't see him doing it. I believe he should go back down to his natural weight and defend that title. Because this is... it could be a distraction that sends it all tits up and will really, really damage his legacy if he were to suffer 2 consecutive defeats to a guy like Nate Diaz. So, they're just my thoughts on McGregor v Diaz in a rematch at UFC 200. Thanks for watching and listening, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Aye.